I asked one of our mentees who was from Tijuana a couple seminars ago. They still say that when you go down there?
Yeah, they look for the donkey show.
The donkey show. This is Juicy Lucy, my virgin sister. Then she has sex with a donkey on stage. It still exists in 2018. John is saying, yeah, well...
There's a shot for that.
And there's in Bangkok, they have girls that squeeze ping pong balls from their snatch from me to Deb. And and then the same girls pick what coins would they have in Bangkok? What's the smallest coin? The baht. How was that? A penny, a nickel, a dime, or a...
Lowest currency is baht, so you got one coin, one baht coin.
She could pick it off your tongue like this. Like when you're going to confession, you put the wafer. She could, and it's still happening. And you wonder why I say the world's fucked up. That shouldn't be happening. And they got Irish guys running up and down the streets, don't they?
Yep.
A couple of comments. Sebastian was commenting about when he was doing his hip-hop thing about me the other night, that he was nervous and he had never done that before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The operative word there is nervous. Guys, when you say something and you're nervous, it doesn't come out right, if it comes out at all. And what do I say? Practice. You start with the meatheads. Marcus said you start with the smaller ones and you work up to the bigger ones. And even those of you that are reasonably polished, the operative word there is reasonably polished, you're still going to be nervous in the beginning, the first few times. And that's why, and it's very apropos when he said that, because I've asked him to tape it for me, regular when he's not nervous. But you're nervous. And I'd say 75% of your less than good results to date are based on nerves. Not based on knowledge or the lack thereof. They're based on nerves. And unless you're used to it, that's right. Was Tom drinking at lunch? Okay. Yeah, okay. But the first time Tom jumped out of a plane, he was nervous. He told me the 100th time he jumped out of a plane, he's nervous. When you think about it, that would always be, even though I've jumped out of a plane, that would always be outside my comfort zone. Because, if you jump enough times, what's going to happen? Something bad. It's just the odds. And these guys that have got 10,000 jumps or 20,000 jumps, and then all of a sudden they forget something, or a special wind comes up, or they get sucked into the engine. 4 or 5 jumps. I had enough of this. I don't need 4 or 5. I don't need 4 or 5,000. Well, it's exactly the presentation skills. I've given so many presentations. I mean, literally thousands, that I can do it in my coma, but then I'm not nervous. So, I mean, I'm sure 75% of your lack of success is based on didn't come out right. It didn't come out right. And just as we've talked about during the regular seminar, guys that have given 21 presentations and then the 22nd to a bank, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th, they said yes. And he says, was it because I got better or I said anything different? No, it's just that I got better. He knew when to pause, he knew when to jump in, he knew what buttons to press, etc., etc. And it's the same for all of you. And all of the meatheads watching. A couple of the guys, actually, I had time to read some of the YouTubes. And a couple of the guys, there's a guy that follows on YouTube that is a Grim Reaper. He's got a sword, a Reaper thing. Yes, exactly. And he was commenting on your abilities or the lack thereof of boxing. Of course, he's on YouTube. he's not in the ring, and that, but getting back to what I was saying, no matter how many times you do these, you've got to continue to practice. You've got to continue to practice until they're always saying yes, and then you've got to continue to practice. And it's just like I commented earlier in the week, I'm surprised when they say no. And I tell them you've got a fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders, and I've got to go through this old litany of things to rock them back to a higher authority. And once in a while I get them to overturn the negative response that I got. Most of the time I don't, but once in a while I do. Because first of all, nobody has ever said, okay, who made this investment decision? Who on the credit committee? I want to go to the next level. Nobody says that. It's virtually, I guess, unheard of to question. But the people that are giving you these what I call intermediate and short-term decisions are just, human beings just like you, and they make errors. And we've already talked about enough this past week, enough incidences, mark us at 2 or 3, where the accountants make a mistake, the banks make a mistake, the lawyers make a mistake. And I've certainly had that happen to me. The bankers make a mistake, they add up the sums wrong. I don't know what they do. They're careless. But there are more mistakes today than there were 30, 40 years ago. That I can tell you. There are more mistakes today than there were 30, 40 years ago. So we know now, vis-a-vis what we're going to go through, or more than we did before with the webinars, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Some other things.
Okay, some other things. Anelli has a case, and you have a case? Two. And Dr. Robinson has a case, so we have...
They're quick.
These aren't from those 2 ethnic groups.
No. However, interesting thing, sir, I want to throw it out here, is I got an email.
I just got it, like somebody stuck a pole up my ass.
Like this, like
anyway,
this.
okay. The pole up my ass, no, but go ahead.
From the Riskies, and they want to have a conference call as soon as possible. So maybe, I was going to throw it out here, if they're available later this afternoon, if we want to do a conference call, at least for practice. You talk about practicing.
Send them an email and say, what's the agenda?
Roger.
Bullet points, the agenda. But saying that your chairman's already taken a decision, they have nothing to offer. Okay. Now you want to start? They are independent. Okay, let's go. Oh, let's see.
Before we start,
okay.
I just wanted to show.
Who's the short black guy in the front? Is that a white guy holding you?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Okay, let me tell you, when we were on the ground, they gave me a bubble gum. They said I must chew a bubble gum, which will help me with the pressure and all of that. And I had the bubble gum in my pocket and I forgot to chew it. So now when we were jumping out, I thought about the bubble gum, but I was already out. And I nearly burst my ears because we jumped at around about 16,000 feet. So yeah, you'll see. This is why when you don't listen to the QLA program, to the steps, this is what happens.
Can you over Joburg?
I was trying to breathe in. Okay,
so this is over Joburg?
Yeah, it's over Joburg.
While the Zoom call was going on, this was happening.
And Tom, I think you told me the 100th time you jumped, you're still nervous.
Yeah, I stopped getting nervous about the 30th a little bit, but then whenever I went several weeks or months without a jump, then you get the jitters again. Yeah,
but you still jump.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
What are you gonna do? Look like a pussy?
Yeah. Okay.
Guys,
I'll die first.
you might want to bring one. Okay. Can anyone see?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is another farm.
Non-recourse.
Definitely.
Definitely.
We're going that way. But this one is owned by a private equity investor. It's 3 Americans. So
You can't trust them. 3 Americans.
they are
You
currently,
got to be careful.
they are currently being screwed at the moment by an Afrikaner farmer. That guy. They're messing them up. So they bought the property. It's that's how it looks. Everything within the red. It's right by the water. It's a wheat, corn, soya beans, and onions farm. So they make organic stuff, which they sell some to the UN and the World Food Program. So the way it's structured at the moment is that there's an ownership company and then there's a mentor. And we are trying to remove the mentor because they've been fleecing the operation from fees and all of that stuff. And that is really affecting the operations of the farm. So the investor has reached his almost at the tail end of the investment window, and they want to get out. So we are coming in. So forget the main core, we will explain as we go along. This, they sent to me, I had a meeting with them at the airport before I flew up to the UK. And they've given me some financials. I haven't been to the site. I haven't met the seller. So we are still at the beginning of the negotiations. Look, these are just the different implements and all of that stuff. So what they own, basically, they own the pumps that draw the water, the pipeline, and all of that infrastructure. I'm talking about the owner. They own the land, the rights to the water rights, the equipment, and the processing infrastructure at the plant. The processing plant at the farm. So the management company just brings in employees, management, agricultural skills, and then they take the produce after a certain period of time, and then they retail it. And so the reason I brought this thing up is because I wanted to get some advice from Old Man Dan.
Okay.
How can I go about doing the transaction? We've sat with the team, and we had Deb present as well, so we went through the numbers. Basically, there's a bit of discrepancies with the numbers. We are going through that.
When you say discrepancies, you mean the numbers don't stack up, or
They don't stack up in certain periods.
Okay.
There's what you were saying yesterday, that you are able, when you're looking at, say, a balance sheet, to see the numbers that jump up, whether from a positive point of view, from a negative point of view. So you get a bit of that. And we're looking at the various permutations as well of how can I negotiate the debt payments and the structure as well.
just one comment about negotiation. 99.999% of the time, you have to negotiate as if you were willing to walk away.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to actually get up and fuck you and walk away. And you take an outrageous position, not an it can sometimes be called an embarrassing offer, where they're asking 100 million, you offer 20 million. But I mean, that what will make them cringe, and that's your starting position, their cringing position, where you see everybody on their side of the table flinch. And okay, this is the word about negotiating. Go ahead.
Yes. So the points that came up that we wanted to raise with the seller as well is that between 2017 and 2016, let alone the fact that I haven't received the management accounts for the period, which is the latest. The year end for that is June.
Okay.
There was a double in revenue between 2017 and 2016. It almost went up by 60%. And we want to know what's the cause of that. Because they are working with,
Are these numbers audited?
yes, the auditors.
Okay. Are they audited by Schwartz and Company or a big company?
At the moment, it looks like it's short in time.
Okay.
Yes, because it's none of the top
Okay.
six.
Go ahead.
The gross margin, the profit margins, 4% for the owner, and the management company is 22%. So we want to know what's happening there.
And who owns the management company?
The management company is the local Afrikaans guy that owns the management company, and the three Americans, they're the directors of the private equity fund. I think they're using pension fund money from the US and stuff. So they are invested. By the look of things, they are extremely passive. By virtue of distance, for instance, the farm is here, and they are there. And to get to the farm, I mean, the management company was telling me that they haven't been there in the last 2 years.
Absentee ownership is a recipe for failure. Just like sensitivity equals poverty, absentee ownership is a recipe for disaster. And that's why virtual offices, you know how you're in New York City and you use virtual office in Malaysia or the Philippines or India, and unless you got your brother-in-law who you trust there in the office, they're working three or four companies while they're billing you. Go ahead.
Yes, like what Marcus was saying, you have to be there. Presence. Because if you're passive, you get screwed. And you can see it in the numbers here. You can see it in the numbers. I mean, the average percentage of the manpower is 21% versus the owner, which is 7%.
And how long have these three guys owned it?
They've owned it for about 8 years now, and they bought it. The manpower brokered the deal, the acquisition deal for them. They're not a seller. So by the way we are looking at it is the three Americans are frustrated that this guy is shafting them, and they want to exit.
So they're motivated.
So they're motivated, right? We're looking at taxation as well. Minus 4.8 million in 2017 and 420K in 2016. Plant equipment profit about they sold plant and equipment and some game and some cattle at the farm.
Game meaning
Yeah. Zebras and all of that stuff.
they think these guys mostly they think of monopoly and
Yes.
Okay, game.
Okay.
A game reserve.
Not that game, meaning wild animals, bucks and all that stuff, deers and zebras and all that shit.
Okay.
For about 8.2 million in 2016 and 2.6 in 2017. So I get the sense that there's some form of exit that's taking place.